I think with Korra specifically, to make it a better story, there's honestly maybe just like one big thing off the top of my head. Aside from the whole video that I made talking about how Korra should have died at the end, and there should have been an Earth avatar. I guess I'll bring that into at the end. But I think that Korra's seasons were not in the correct order. And I do give Nickelodeon and the creators some leeway because they weren't expecting Korra to be any more than one season. I'm pretty sure Korra was supposed to be just a mini series. And then it got so big and so popular, like, we gotta keep making more and more and more, and they never knew when the last season was going to be. But if you really think about the nitty-gritty of Legend of Korra, the first season I think is still fine where it's set up. But I believe it's the second season is the Dark Avatar, right? So it's Unalaq and Tarlok, I believe. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I definitely know that it's her uncle, and I can't remember the name, but he is kind of like the person who's going to take the host of the Dark Avatar. And I think going from the Dark Avatar, which is to me kind of like synonymous with the heights of all that Avatar could be in the universe, you know, we're getting the antithesis of basically the God King, going down to the other two seasons of the show, which were the Masters and Kuvira. Personally, from an editor's perspective, again, if they knew what they were going to do, which they didn't, I would make the Dark Avatar the last season of the show. I would make Kuvira the second season of the show. I would make the Masters the third season of the show. And then I would make the Dark Avatar the fourth season of the show. And the reason I think about that is because I see that as kind of like the proper escalation of the conflict, with Kuvira representing, you know, first we start off really small with Amon, and then, you know, the fighters, I mean, small with, you know, taking away bending. And then Kuvira is, you know, an earthly army that, even though it is using some type of like spiritual weaponry, is still very much kind of like a step up from just a gang trying to take away bending. And you turn that into like, this is a whole war. And then from there, in season 3, we're not fighting an army anymore, but we're fighting 4 people with bending, the likes of which we've never seen, that effectively make up an army, and they were trying to get rid of the Avatar. I guess, well, that would be season 3, and then season 4 would be, we're fighting against the Dark Avatar. And of course, in a perfect world, the Dark Avatar would be foreshadowed throughout all 3 of the, you know, preceding seasons, so that we get a grand sense of the danger in the 4th season. And I think that's, to me, a better way of escalating the conflict and framing everything, and then leading everything into each other. Because if you have, you know, Amon try to take away bending, and then the counterculture to that would be Kuvira, who's a very strong bender, being like, you know, we got to defend ourselves, we got to spread bending across the world, and her doing, you know, her thing. Korra fights against her. From the third season, it would be the Masters trying to take down the Avatar and, you know, giving Korra her PTSD episode. And then the final season would be Korra dealing with her PTSD and fighting against the Dark Avatar to realize her identity, right? So she becomes most complete within herself when fighting against what essentially is her opposite. So off the top of my head, that's what I would think, aside from Korra dying and there being an Earth Avatar, because I think that would be really cool. That's what I would think my conception of like changing the Legend of Korra would be. Because it really did kind of like handicap them to not know that there would be multiple seasons.